Hello, my young adventurers. Tonight's story is The Little Lantern That Wouldn't Give Up by Elijah Perry. On the edge of the quiet forest, where the trees whispered to one another every evening, there was a tiny village filled with cozy little cottages. Every night, just before bedtime, a friendly old lamplighter named Mr. Rowan walked through the village, lighting every lantern along the winding paths. The lanterns glowed warmly, helping everyone find their way home before the stars filled the sky. One evening, as Mr. Rowan finished his work, he noticed something unusual. At the end of the path sat the smallest lantern he had ever seen. It was barely taller than a squirrel. It had a tiny golden handle. It was so small that it looked like a single firefly dancing inside. "Okay, dear," sighed the little lantern. "Everyone else shines so brightly. I don't think I matter very much." Mr. Rowan smiled kindly. "Never measure your light by someone else's," he said. "Every light has a purpose." But the little lantern wasn't convinced. That night, while the village slept peacefully, the wind wandered through the forest. Leaves whirled through the air. Branches gently swayed. One by one, the biggest lanterns began to flicker. The wind grew stronger. Several lanterns went out completely. Only a few remained glowing. The tiny lantern held as tightly as he could. "I may not be bright," it whispered, "but I can still try." Its little flame danced. It shook. It almost disappeared, but it stayed lit. Far away in the forest, a family of rabbits was returning home after gathering clover for dinner. Usually, they followed the brightest lanterns that lined their path, but tonight, most of them were dark. "Oh dear," says Mama Rabbit. "I think we've taken the wrong trail." The baby rabbits huddled closely together. Just then, one little bunny pointed through the trees. "Look! Way off in the distance was the tiniest golden glow." "It isn't very bright," says Papa Rabbit. "But it's enough," smiled Mama Rabbit. The rabbit family carefully followed the little light until they reached the village path. Safe at last. The little lantern had no idea it had just helped someone. The next evening, the village gathered for its annual moon festival. Children laughed. Families shared warm soup and fresh bread. Musicians played gentle songs beneath the stars. As darkness settled, Mr. Rowan lit every lantern once again. The large lantern sparkled proudly. The medium lanterns glowed steadily, and the tiny lantern quietly shining at the end of the little path. Just then, a little girl named Emma walked over. "I like this one the best," she says. Her father smiled. Why this one?" "Because," Emma answered, "it reminds me that little things can make a big difference." The tiny lantern glowed just a little brighter. A few days later, heavy clouds rolled through the sky. Rain began to fall. Drip, drip, drop, plunk, plunk. The rivers beside the village slowly began to rise. The ducks paddled faster. The frogs croaked louder. Everyone hurried inside. When the rain finally stopped, the bridge leading into the town was covered in a thick fog. Travelers couldn't see which way to go. Mr. Rowan lit every lantern along the bridge, but the fog swallowed most of their light. The little lantern wondered if it should even try. "My light is so small," it whispered. Still, it's lit its tiny flame. The warm golden glow shined low to the ground, just enough for people to see where to take their next step. One careful step, then another. Soon everyone crossed the bridge safely. Again, the little lantern didn't realize how helpful it had been. Weeks passed. Summer slowly turned into autumn. The forest began painted with reds, oranges, and golden yellows. Squirrels gathered acorns, fox padded quietly through the crunching leaves. Owls watched from tall branches. One chilly evening, a young owl named Oliver was learning to fly. He flapped, he wobbled, he swooped, then whoops! He landed in a blackberry bush. Oh dear, hooted Oliver. He couldn't find his way out. Night was falling quickly. The little lantern spotted tiny feathers moving in the bushes. I think someone needs help. It shined so brightly as it could. Its warm glow showed Oliver a safe path through the bushes and all the branches. With one little flap, whoosh! Oliver flew free. Thank you, he called. The lantern smiled quietly. Maybe, just maybe, its light was enough after all. Winter soon arrived. Soft snow covered the rooftops like fluffy blankets. Icicles sparkled in the morning sunshine. Children built snow forts. They made snow angels. They laughed until their cheeks turned rosy pink. One evening, snow began falling harder than anyone expected. The paths disappeared beneath thick white drafts. The biggest lanterns became covered with snow. Their light grew dim. The tiny lantern sat lower to the ground, where the wind couldn't reach it as easily. Its warm glow reflected across the snow. People followed the golden light home, one family at a time. That night, the mayor gathered everyone together. I've been hearing wonderful stories, she said. A rabbit family found their way home. A young owl was rescued. Travelers crossed the bridge safely. Families returned home during the snowstorm. Everyone wondered who had helped so many. Mr. Rowan smiled and gently pointed towards the little lantern. The village gasped. This little lantern? The lantern felt shy. I wasn't very bright. Mr. Rowan knelt beside it. You never needed to be the brightest. You only needed to keep shining. The villagers cheered. Children decorated the little lantern with a tiny blue ribbon, not because it was the biggest, not because it was the brightest, but because it never gave up. From that day on, whenever anyone in the village felt too small, too quiet, or not important enough, they would walk to the end of the path and visit the little lantern. Its tiny flame reminded everyone that kindness doesn't have to be loud. Courage doesn't have to be big. And even the smallest light can help someone find their way home. That evening, the stars twinkled overhead. The moon smiled down on the sleepy village. Mr. Rowan lit the lantern one last time before heading home. The little lantern glowed softly, not to be noticed, not to be famous, simply to help. And somehow, that made it shine brighter than ever. The forest grew quiet. The rabbits slept peacefully in their burrows. Oliver the owl tucked his head beneath his wings. The children yawned as they snuggled beneath warm blankets. Outside, the little lantern continued to glow, keeping watch over the peaceful village until the first rays of the morning sunlight gently welcomed a brand new day. The end. Sweet dreams, my young adventurers, and remember, you might be the smallest, but remember, never give up and shine to your true brightness. Good night.